Hello, hello. Welcome in. My name is Nikki White, and I'm here today to help you figure out how to unlock your cosmic blueprint so that your brand becomes magnetic and soul aligned, and that you're connected to yourself above everything else. So when you're connected to yourself, other people can feel that, and you begin to change your energy field and your point of attraction. And so when we do this, we are able to then bring in new opportunities, whether they're clients or working with other people, any kind of positive opportunity, and have that greater impact that I know that you're here for. That's why we're all doing this work, right? Is so that we can help change our little corner of the world and having an impact, what feels like only this, handful of people did this and handful of people did this. But what if we could have a greater impact where we know the meaning of the work we're doing? We really truly have it reflected back to us in our outer realities, because that's the whole point, right? Is making our outer realities match what we feel on the inside. And so I'm going to walk you through three great astrological placements to build your multidimensional brand. Okay, so multidimensional, right? Like you are not just one thing, but traditional marketing would have you believe that you were supposed to pick just one thing forever and always so that you can be branded like a cow, that you do that one thing. If you've been following me for a long time, you know that I don't do that at all. It's actually like it's a part of my blueprint to do lots and lots and lots of different kinds of things, but there's always a connecting thread. It's me, but there's always some sort of like vibe that is from my soul's essence that is in all of these different buckets of things that I do. If you have Gemini placements, you will understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so your brand is not just a logo or a catchy phrase. It's a living, breathing extension of your soul. And when it aligns with all of your internal demons, belief systems, when all of that can be kind of, aligned to who you are, we do some shadow work, we do all those things that help release those resistances. But when we are aligned to who we are, we automatically become magnetic. And that word gets used a lot these days, but here's what happens is the most magnetic thing that there is in the energetic world are archetypes. Your archetypes are the most magnetic thing there is, period. And when we can sink into those, we become magnetic. But it's in the resistance, right? Of like not wanting to be who we are or feel ashamed for it on some level, or something that didn't get fostered in us as children, or things that we've kind of shoved in our shadow. We won't be able to align to those things until they come up to be seen. But what we can do is lean into these placements more and more and more. And in this free video, I'm going to give you 3 of those placements. Now, granted, there are lots of placements that we could do. There are lots of ways to look at this, and it does not stop at these 3 that I'm telling you. But if you can lean deeper and deeper into these 3, you're going to start to do some just everyday living shadow work without even knowing it, because you're going to come up against things that you didn't believe about yourself. And you're going to look at it and go, oh, that is me. And the more you sink in, the more magnetic you become. And when you're magnetic, obviously, things then resonate with other people a lot more naturally. So this guide's going to help you understand 3 key astrological placements that shape your unique brand and your energy, your essence. So let's dive in and explore how these 3 placements can serve as guides in creating a brand that feels truly, truly you. Okay, so section 1, placement 1, I should say, your sun sign. Now, you're going to be like, duh, right? Like everything in astrology is always sun sign, sun sign, sun sign. Well, here's the thing about the sun sign that people forget to tell you. It's not an automatic handover. It's not like I was born a Taurus, therefore I'm already a Taurus. It's something that you have to work for, something you have to let unfold. And it is the heart of who you are. But as we get older, the heart of who we are becomes deeper and deeper and bigger and more clear. But this is the essence that fuels you. This is the essence that fuels you. Okay, like let that sink in for a second. It's not just your zodiac sign. It's not just the thing you look up in the newspaper. It's the place you grow into. And the light you're meant to shine in this world comes through this in this way. This is the how your light comes into this world. So understanding your sun sign in terms of brand alignment is about discovering what makes you magnetic at your core. So the power of your sun sign in branding. Okay. Here's how this works. The characteristics of your sun sign show up naturally, but you may not know it. And how you lean into them brings about your authenticity. So we want to check every one of, obviously, what am I trying to say here? You want to check your specific sun sign and pull in the energy. And if that's even too intense, can you sink into that energy? Can you take what's yours? Okay. So it's easier said than done to allow your sun sign to evolve. It takes time too. It's like, how do I do this? Let's do it right now. This is a lifetime thing. But the moment you start to consciously evoke your sun sign, your sun's archetype, is the moment it starts to unfold quickly. And when it's in your consciousness, then it unravels at a great speed. So whenever something's in our shadow, it's not in our consciousness and we don't know. And it'll unravel in its own space and time, but it doesn't enrich us because we are the thing that observes the sun sign unfolding. That's the separation that I want you to create here. You aren't just your sun sign. You're not just your moon sign. You're not just your ascendant or whatever other placement. You are the thing that can look at and observe these placements in you. So there's a whole separate entity that is you that witnesses all of this. And when you can witness something, magic always unfolds. Witnessing is one of the first things you do in emotional alchemy. And it makes sense here as well. When you can witness something, something blossoms. So it's easier said than done, but your sun is not automatically given to you. You have to, kind of work for it. But as you mature, your sun sign becomes more prevalent and your beingness starts to blossom, like I said. So you can begin now by embodying some of the characteristics. And I'm going to read you a little list just really quickly so that we have one key archetypal word for every one of the signs in case you're completely new to this. Okay, let me give you that list right now. Okay, Aries. This is going to be so hard for me to keep myself into a one word I want to just go on and on and on so you have like a really full idea of this. But for now, we're going to stick to one archetype of word, and maybe I'll come back with another freebie another day, a podcast or something where we can go deeper into this. But Aries is action. I'll give you one little side note. You can put the word seeking at the end of every one of these because each one of these is looking for something. So Aries is action seeking, right? Taurus is stable. Gemini is curious. Cancer is nurturing. Leo is creative. Virgo is orderly. Libra's word is, well, two words. I'm going to put the seeking on this one so it makes more sense. Libra is balance seeking. Scorpio, transformative. Sagittarius is truth seeking. That one makes sense too if you put seeking on that one. Truth seeking. Capricorn is climbing. Aquarius is visionary. Pisces is redemptive, which is a big one. I know a lot of Pisces, and a lot of them like to resist their own redemptive natures. It's just a part of being the final sign of the zodiac, I think. It's the most, I don't know, deepening, I think is a good word for it. Okay, so here's what we can do. I also want you to pay attention to the house of your sun. And you can use those same words in order. So if your sun's house is eighth house, you want to go to the eighth sign, just Scorpio, and then go over to that word again, which is transformative. If your sun is in the first house, I want you to go to Aries because that's the first sign, and that word was action. Okay. So keep track of the house and the sign that your sun is in. So now you can do some Googling, or you can use this one word that I've given you. And I want you to write down a little short list of keywords that go along with your sun sign. And I want you to consider how these words translate into your beingness, right? Because your sun sign is how you shine. It is how you do it, not necessarily what you do. And that's where we get tripped up in astrology a lot of the times, because ancient times, astrology, yes, was for predictive measures only. You will be a farmer. You will die at this time. And they would predict like everything. Now we can use it as human consciousness unfolds and unravels and expands. So does astrology. And the way that I use it is less predictive, because who wants a prescription or a prediction for their entire life? It's more about how you experience the qualities of your different placements. Like I was saying, you are the thing that experiences your sun sign and experiences your moon sign and any of the other placements you have. So I want you to write down some key words to see how your shine could be involved in your brand. And a journal prompt for you could be, I want you to reflect on one of your sun sign traits that you've listed that you haven't fully embodied yet. How might your brand feel more aligned if you allowed this part of yourself to come forward? So where are you in resistance? For example, I was talking about Pisces. I know very many Pisces that are resistant to their own nature. Now, a lot of the times resistance comes from conditioning, societal conditioning, and a lack of self-worth. So when you combine those together, any sign could put their qualities in the shadow or in the basement, sometimes I like to say. So a Pisces could resist their fantastical nature and never want to dive into and merge into that creative force of fantasy land or of a painting or some sort of that, that creative force that comes through you, sometimes they resist that in general. Could be that they resist art or they just resist their dreamy like nature. So I want you to think of something you haven't embodied yet and really allow that to come forward. It won't just hit you. It may not. It probably won't just hit you like why you're like that and blah blah blah. It doesn't matter. Let it unfold. For another example, Taurus, right? I'm a Taurus, and this is my example. I fight the fact that my nature is a little simplistic and that I should be more complex because somewhere along the lines, I have brought on the idea that complexity equals more value in the world. And that's not true. You could be sitting there right now telling me like, "Oh my God, Nick, I love when people are stable and reliable." Those are good qualities to have. But it just is dependent on your own life experience of why you would put certain things in your own shadow. So I want you to really sit with that. And I want you to practice this. So I want you to practice sun sign day. Okay, so dedicate one day to actively embodying your sun sign qualities in your work. If you haven't built your business yet, that's okay. I want you to still do it at work. But if you have, I want you to just practice. How can I lean into this? How can I fold into this energy and really just be it? Paradoxically, when you can dig down and then be something, that thing blossoms. So I want you to really, really, really practice this with your sun sign. So this is why it's not just a basic look at your sun sign and that'll tell you. There's some deep stuff that occurs in our everyday unfolding that has to do with our sun signs. And then when you translate it to business, it's very much more than just the basic, what's your sun sign astrology? It can be very, very deep. And that's why I'm here. I always forget that that's going to come in. Okay. So, because I've been pausing after every one of these just to give myself a minute to think about what I'm saying. And then I hit the record and then she tells me she's recording again and I get all. Anywho. Okay. So, placement number two. Okay. Placement number two. I want you is a little less, it's a little less work than placement number one. So, it's good news. Okay. The second placement I want you to focus on is your first house. It's how you meet the world and how the world first meets you. Okay, so that's important in business, right? It's how everybody sees you first, though. That's how everybody meets you, unless they are a parent or a family or like a lifelong friend that you've known since you were born. Generally speaking, the world meets you as your rising sign. So I want you to make sure you have the appropriate, proper birth time. I know that can be an issue for some people. Do your best, take your best guess. And if you don't know your exact birth time, there are astrologers out there that do something called rectification. And through a series of questions, they ask you the questions and they try to pinpoint what your rising sign is. And sometimes some astrologers can get it down to the degree, which is really, really incredible. So you can check that out. But if not, try to get it within a 15-minute window, but sometimes that could even send you into the next sign. So you'll have to do a little bit of digging if you don't know your exact birth time. But if you do, I want you to figure out what your first house is, right? And I want you to check where your rising sign is, where your ascendant is. It's a specific point, and any planets that are in that first house. It could be empty. That's totally fine. Everybody has empty houses. That's not a bad thing. If you have stuff in your first house, that will add flavor. to the filter that you use to see the world and how the world sees you. So you want to first just know that in my opinion, this isn't one you have to necessarily try to be. It is literally a filter. Like imagine a not like a camera filter, but like a screen, and every sign has like a different color. Let's just say it's not true, but like let's just for imaginary purposes, your screen is pink. And so every time you look through that window, everything you see is pink. Same thing. People outside that window are looking through the pink window and you seem pink to them. I'm only using a color as an example. You're going to want to think a little bit deeper into this of the essence that every one of these signs have. And that ends up being the screen people see you through and that you see people through. The key is to be aware that it's there. It's not necessarily something you have to try to be, but you have to be aware that it's there because that's a part of your main vibe. That's going to be a vibe you give off to people. And like I said, none of these are bad. It's just a different flavor. Different flavor. And then, so like, let's think of ice cream, right? Okay. So you're a Scorpio rising. Your ice cream flavor is Rocky Road. I don't know. Okay, so you have Rocky Road ice cream, but you also have Mercury in the first house. You have Mercury there. So now maybe you have some rainbow sprinkles on your Rocky Road ice cream. Like that's your specific flavor for your specific sign and whatever planets are there. It doesn't necessarily have to be something you wrap into your visual elements of branding, but it is something to be aware of that that's how you come across at first. People get to know you and they start to see you in different ways around your chart, but the first way is through that rising sign window. So like I said, this one's kind of easy. You don't have to do anything, but you may want to include the vibe of your rising sign in your mission statement. So for example, Libra rising, they're go back to our list, right? They are balance seeking. So maybe there's some element in your mission statement about bringing people back into harmony. Does it make sense now? Let's see if I can give another example. Because balance and harmony are like one and the same thing, but harmony is a better word for a mission statement. If you are Scorpio rising, maybe you say something about how much you value transformation in the work that you do, and your mission is to help X people transform into Y thing. Okay, that's how that is gonna go. Okay, let's see what's next here. All right, so here's a couple of exercises I want you to do with your rising sign. The first house reflection is similar to the last one. I want you to write down 3 adjectives that describe the energy of your rising sign. So you can do a little Googling, or you can at least take the one word I gave you in the list and come up with a couple other words that are similar to that. So brainstorm how these adjectives can be expressed on a tonality level for you. It doesn't have to be exactly like this is my tone, but what's your flavor? What's your tone? What's your vibe? That's going to be a part, your first house is going to be a part of your vibe for sure. And if you're so inclined, here's a little extra thing that you can do is you can create a vision board or a mood board with just your rising sign alone so you can really get to know it. Eventually, it might be good to do a mood board for all of your houses. And do it in Pinterest. Have 12 different Pinterest boards and have the first one be your rising sign or your first house. Then your second house, like what sign is on, they call it the cusp, that first line on the pie slice, what sign is there on your second house? And do it for your third and fourth, and see if you can start to come up with a mood board for your entire self. Just a good way to get to know yourself. Get some imagery, some brand colors. If you so desire, the brand colors thing can come later, but it doesn't hurt to start. It doesn't hurt to see what you're attracted to, what you feel good with. Um, but it is good to note what you are attracted to may not be what your people are attracted to. That's a whole other part of your chart. But for right now, I mean, of course, you can make things that are attractive to you, because if you are vibing on it, other people are going to vibe on it. So it's really, don't overthink it. This is just an exercise to help you get to know you. All right. Section 3 is my favorite section. This is my favorite part of the chart. I have obsessed about this part of the chart since I started learning astrology. And this is your midheaven, or also called your MC. So when you look at your chart, it'll be at the very, well, it'll be towards the top. If you're born like high in latitude, a lot of the times the midheaven is like way over here or way over here. But you just look for where it says MC, and whatever sign is right on that MC line, that's your midheaven. Okay. This midheaven represents your public face, your legacy, the work you're here to do in the world, your role in the world, recognition, how you meet the world in a public and professional way. It's not necessarily how you make money. People kind of get that part confused. What we want to focus on for this is called the 10th house, the midheaven, is how you meet the world in a public way, in a professional way, in an achievement kind of way. Those are all words that fit this 10th house. And since obviously this is tied to career and public recognition, this is essential for your brand. Essential. When you align to your midheaven, you project authenticity and authority and purpose with your work. So project first, in order to project this sign, you need to first feel it. So you want to dive into that feeling again, sink into that feeling of the sign that is on your midheaven. Let's see. So let's do an example. A Cancer midheaven will meet the world and will be known for, it could also be called your fame. I could be famous for how well I take care of people. That's Cancer. So you can always just put, what am I famous for? Put your sign's word next to it. It's just a good way to get started. It's not necessarily the be all end all. There's more to Cancer than nurturing, but that's a huge, huge, huge part of it. So you can take that list again. I'm trying to think back without having to click on a lot of things here. Some of the specific words that I used. Taurus. The word I used was stable, but you can kind of think about that in many ways. Stable, reliable, forward facing, putting things in order, wanting something sequential to happen. Like Tauruses are very good at being efficient because they don't want to utilize too much of their energy. I know this from experience. So they put things in sequential order so they're not wasting time zigzagging around. They will be known for that. They will be known for being a stable presence. They will be known for being unwavering and not changing and even keeled, and they'll be known for that. And that's a really important part of like figuring out what your brand is like how the public sees you. It doesn't necessarily need to be Taurus is an earth sign, so I should use green or I should use brown. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. I know Libra midheavens that use creams and browns and greens in their marketing. Libra's not an earth sign. Libra's an air sign. You would think maybe Libra was like all pastel-y and stuff like that, but it doesn't matter. It's how you do it. So I want you to get in your head that astrology does not need to always be predictive, although it can be. It's also how you do things, how you meet the world, how the world meets you. It helps put on like a less pressure when you're using astrology to help you. So the importance of the midheaven is very much so. It's the highest point in your chart. And essentially, if you look at a circle and you look at the path of the sun, noon, where it's brightest, is at the sun's at the very top of the world at noon. That's why the midheaven is up here. It is the place of your shine. Your sun is your shine, your inner shine, the way you evolve your essence. But your midheaven is your big shine, your public shine. Sometimes the sun sign's a private thing. Midheaven is not private. It's how you do what you do. And again, just like with the first house, there could be planets there. And those planets are going to give extra flavor. It might be a wild flavor. I'm not going to lie. This might not be an ice cream that matches its topping very well, but it's still going to give a flavor. What if it's a pickle topping on an ice cream? That probably won't taste that good, but it's still a flavor. And it will be your flavor, right? Let's say you have, now I'm going to just be silly. Uranus to me would be a pickle flavor because it's wild and crazy for ice cream. It's not, pickles aren't wild and crazy on their own, but with ice cream they are. So let's say you have Uranus on the midheaven or in the 10th house somewhere, and they're pickles, and you are Cancer midheaven. That wouldn't happen, by the way. These days, you would have to be really old if this is your placement. You have to be really old or born in like the next, I don't know, 20 years. But Cancer ice cream would be cookies and cream. But you've got Uranus there. So now you've got cookies and cream and pickles. See, this can be fun. This doesn't have to be crazy. It's just about feeling into these new energies and showing up in a how way. This is how I do this. Because when you are in a how sense, state of mind, it is a less pressured place than a what state of mind. That might not make sense to you, but let that sink in for a minute. There's more freedom in the how. There's no freedom in the what. What is that? What is what is what? If we looked at this in a what way, a Cancer midheaven would be a nurse. That means I need to go to school and be a nurse. No, it just means that you nurture other people and that you have a sense about you to nurture others. And people can see that in you. It's not just an internal thing that you feel nurturing. You are, and people see and want and need that from you. So I hope this is starting to land a little more and helping you really realize how astrology doesn't have to be complex or confusing, especially when it comes to your brand. You get to just embody it and be it. So some clarity exercises for you for the midheaven. This might be a good place, because we've done all three, to write a mini mission statement. Don't make yourself crazy, please. These things, you can get stuck in the perfectionist loop on these things forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, especially if you have Virgo or 6th house placements. Try to just make it 4 sentences or even 3. Make a sentence per placement that we've talked about today. You can always add to it later, and it does not have to be forever. This is an unfolding process, but it's something to help you embody your own self so that you can be more magnetic and more opportunities and more impact can come into your life. And I want you to practice this public persona. That's another part of this exercise, is to choose an action that aligns with your midheaven. And maybe it's just like a dance movement. It doesn't have to be that you have to go out and then find a way to do public speaking right now because you're a Leo midheaven or a Gemini midheaven. It just means that you can find a movement that symbolizes that. So, Gemini midheaven public speaking. Can you find something that's your microphone and pretend you're talking into it, even if no words come out of your mouth? And start to embody what it feels like to speak Gemini publicly, 10th house. Make sense? Okay, that's what I want you to do for whatever your midheaven is. All right, so bringing this all together. Now that you've explored your sun sign, your first house, and your midheaven, it's time to integrate these placements and create a cohesive brand story. So think of these placements as puzzle pieces that, when combined, offer a fuller picture of who you are because your energy shows up first. Your energy field is clear, you're not resisting who you are, and your energy precedes you. So some exercises you can do. Make a brand story. Use the insights from the previous sections and draft a short paragraph that captures the essence of your brand based on these 3 placements. Remember, there's more, but for now, little chunks at a time, okay? So we'll just do the little chunks at a time. So make your brand based off of your sun rising in your midheaven. Let it be a snapshot of who you are. Maybe you make it on a collage or another Pinterest board. I don't know if it still exists, but Pinterest for a little while had like that collage app. That might be a really great place to just do your brand story with your sun, your rising, and your midheaven just on a little collage on that app. I don't even know what it's called, and it might not even exist anymore. I don't know. Okay, your brand affirmation. So the next thing I want you to do is to create a personal affirmation that reminds you to stay aligned with these core parts of yourself. They're not for anybody else. They're just for you. This whole thing is just for you so that you can really, really, really feel who you are and become that thing. Clear out all the energetic gunk and lead with that energy. So, for example, I'm here to shine as sun sign, show up as rising sign, and leave a legacy of midheaven. Let me say that again, just in case I screwed that up. I don't know if I did or not. I'm here to shine as sun sign, show up as rising sign, and leave a legacy of the midheaven sign. Cool. Okay, I think we got that. So check in with yourself, have a moment, align with yourself, do this exercise regularly, do your brand affirmation on a daily basis, maybe print it out on a card, and use it as a powerful tool to recalibrate yourself when you feel a little bit lost or you don't feel like yourself. The next level for all of this is to sign up for the Secrets of Shining Masterclass. That's a low-cost option to get a little more deeper into this work. And if you want real depth where we go through this for a few weeks on end, I am going to be promoting Align and Shine, which is a waitlist only mini mastermind. It will be for several weeks, probably somewhere around 9 to 12. Last time I did it, it was 9, but I felt like it just wasn't enough, like it just wanted, everybody wanted more time together. So it might be a little longer than 9 this time. And this will be an immersive group experience. This is one of my priestess experiences that I do. And it's one of my favorites, honestly. I love this so much. So that will be waitlist only. And this will encompass your full brand, all the placements we would use, and unblocking yourself if you're having problems shining, if you're having problems showing up regularly, if you're having problems with shyness or rejection, fear of rejection, all of that kind of stuff. So thank you so much for being here. I hope this was so helpful. I'm having so much fun doing this, and I hope to see you in any of these sessions. I also have one-on-one sessions if that is something you'd much rather do. All right, thanks again, and I will see you in the next round. Bye.